What's up? Thanks for joining us, everybody. Episode 9, the Brooks and Banks Show podcast.
That's right, and it's a show where everything matters and
nothing matters.
That's right, baby. So today we have a very special guest, our friend Nick, LifePath33.
You got to check him out online, Nick White Tattoo on Instagram. We'll throw it up on here.
And we're at his place right now, True at Heart Tattoo in Huntington Beach. We and Nick White go way back. My first tattoo ever was with Nick, and I was his first koi fish tattoo. Yep. Other than that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I met these guys, 10 years ago, maybe more?
Maybe a little longer,
over 10
15,
years ago.
something like that.
Pretty much right when I started tattooing professionally, 2 years out of an apprenticeship, and was just getting the ball rolling, and these guys stepped up to the plate, let me do pretty much whatever I wanted on them, which was rad. Got my feet wet with some big work on them, and it was the beginning of a wild ride for me. Something that I knew I wanted to do forever, seemed unattainable at the time, and now 13 years later, it's wildest dream come true.
Living the dream, man. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. The reason why I hit you up after 12 years is because I was having a lot of strange synchronicities happen, and I realized that my tattoos, which I had never chosen myself, my tattoo artist had always chosen my tattoos, but I realized that my tattoos chose me. Specifically that I'm a Gemini, and Gemini is often represented by a phoenix, which I have on my forearm. And my rising sign is a Pisces, which is a fish. And I literally have a phoenix and then a fish rising above it. And so when I realized that, I hit up Nick for the first time in 12 years, and I was like, yo, time to get something else, because this shit's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because it happens like that sometimes. Not all the time, but like with you, you're just like, do whatever you want, like whatever you want to do. And I, out of a million different ideas and symbols and choices and images, it just was like, I want to do this and I want to do that one. And then it ended up being perfect for you. Sometimes the tattoos choose the people, which is crazy, and some people don't understand that, or they're like, no, I could never do that. Like, that's just, I have to be this, it has to be that. But, and in the end, it works out. And that happens, which is super, super rad that it meant so much to you.
Well, and also I think it's worth mentioning that, Brooks and I did a guided meditation once where we met our spirit animals. Yeah. And mine is a phoenix, and his is a dragon, which is he has a dragon.
Also got the dragon tattoo from you,
From you, right?
Yep.
It's pretty amazing. And we've already talked about that. Your Life Path 33, which it kind of seems like everybody in my life that is in some way, shape, or form a teacher to me is a Life Path 33, which represents the master teacher. Also, your favorite number is number 3.
Yeah.
You're a boxer, right? 3 rounds, all that.
Yeah.
And it's just all really synchronized and beautiful. And I want to talk a little bit about also, your experience on DMT. And I also want to talk a little bit about the flat Earth theory.
So those are very interesting subjects to a lot of people.
So why don't we start with your awakening?
Do you want to tell us that story again about like when you had some downtime in the internet and that?
So I had a surgery. I had a disc in my neck that was pinching a nerve, and it was causing my drawing hand to get numb and go tingly. They recommended a fusion surgery, and it was the best thing and the scariest thing at that time for me to go through. Wasn't allowed to tattoo, wasn't allowed to box, wasn't allowed to work out for 6 weeks minimum. I was in a neck brace, like when you get in a car accident. I had to wear the brace. Pretty much 24 hours a day. I could only take it off to shower. I had to sleep with it, and it was a rude awakening at how fragile I was, and it was really scary.
So you had some downtime, some time to do some internal, some introspective work, I guess,
I had some time to do whatever the fuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life, and what am I going to do at this time? And was kind of going stir crazy, and once you watch every show on Netflix at the time and stare at your walls, it's kind of like, all right, well, now what? And I came across a couple videos on the flat Earth that were like, what in the fuck is wrong with these guys? Like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, like, no way. You know, and I'm like, I gotta find something for myself just so I can prove this guy wrong, because the guy seemed so sincere.
Yeah.
So like, this is what's going down, and we've been lied to, and we've been indoctrinated, and you know. And I'm like, okay, this guy seems like he's not fucking around. Like, he's not doing
he
this.
believes himself.
He's not doing this just to be like, hey, like, let me poke the bear, you know,
or sell something.
And I'm like,
or,
all right, well, wait a minute, like. So I dove in, you know, and I'm like, okay, like, let's find a picture, let's find this, let's find that.
Let's find a picture of
just
the
something.
Earth,
I'm
right?
not even gonna message the guy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm just gonna be like, okay, he was bullshit. Next video.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Hey, cats, or like, you know,
Sure.
something less crazy. And I couldn't find anything. And
To disprove it.
To disprove
Wow.
it. And I couldn't find anything that validated the opposing side, which was a picture or irrefutable proof of this or that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just rabbit holed in from there to like multiple things, which led into NASA and the fraudulent stuff that they've been doing. I think their annual budget is like 29 billion. I mean, it might be somewhere in that range a year.
Yeah.
That we pay, the taxpayers' money, right? And it's a lot of money for some fugazi shit.
For real.
And that led back into the moon landing, which I kind of was already like, what the fuck? Like, that looks, just watching the video,
Right.
that's whack. Like, come on, bro. Like, the little explosion. And we've never been back, and we lost the technology, and we lost all the telemetry data. And like, that just seems like you did the most amazing thing that humankind has ever done, and we lost all the evidence. Like, that's like discovering something and just be like, well, you know, I don't know how I did it, you know, like, no, it's bullshit, right?
Well, did that lead you then to maybe like more of like fifth dimensional, like theoretical physics, which then led you to spirituality?
That was like the kickoff, you know. So once I dove down that and got into that, I was kind of like, okay, like, there's
something else going on.
Something else, which led into another video, and then that led, you know, into some spirituality, some science stuff, like telekinesis, remote viewing, deja vu, like, you know, like the mind controlling certain aspects of things that we don't understand, or that we don't touch enough on in society, because, you know, we've been pushed to believe a certain thing, and like, oh no, this is not possible, and this is not. It might be a coincidence, right? There are no coincidences.
No, there are no. I often say that coincidence is just the beginning of truth.
Yeah, so it was really like eye-opening, you know, to say the least. And I got into like psychology, controlling biology, and like your mind, the power of the mind, and healing yourself with your mind, and you know, really opening your mind up to different possibilities was from these videos.
Would you say that the flat Earth stuff just kind of opened your mind a little bit more to just be more open to?
It did.
Okay,
it did.
Change your
I
perspective.
was like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I don't have everything figured out.
Right.
What I've been told might be not.
Maybe I'm conditioned.
It helped you. It helped you thin the veil on what you perceive as reality. 100%. You know, and I think that that's so important. Like, a lot of people come to me for spiritual help, and like, I often have to tell them, like, you got to understand that, like, you have to break down all understandings that you have. We have to like kind of have a clean slate, then look at the world through a new pair of eyes. You know,
that's tough for a person like me. Like, I'm very like set in my way, you know.
You're logical.
Like,
you're logical.
You use reason.
This is what I know. This is what I believe in. This is what I've been. Like, there's no way. Like, right? So something like that is very hard for a person that's like, one, you feel tricked, you feel duped, right?
Totally.
That sucks. You know? And then two, you kind of feel a little stupid, cognitive dissonance. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather go on just believing the lie because
Ignorance
it's easier
is
for me to digest that than saying, holy shit, maybe I've been tricked and I've been lied to, and I don't know as much as I know, and I have to break down all these barriers and walls to be like open to taking new energy and new information.
Right.
And that's 50 consciousness, dude.
You're talking like 30-something-year-old man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this isn't like you telling a kid, oh, like this is that and this is that, and they're like, okay, I guess it is.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
This is breaking
Right.
down a lot.
It's
of things
self-awareness,
that
and I think
are really
that.
hard.
Yeah.
So I guess okay. So like my question is, when did you figure out that you were God?
Well, I think that,
And when I say
it was
God,
a long
you know,
time,
yeah.
because at first I went through the conspiracy theory,
Right.
conundrum with all that, and then some of that is like, okay, like, yeah, this is wild, this is weird, this is wild, this is weird, but then it turned into the like I am stuff and the holographic universe,
Yes.
Michael Talbot,
100%,
and all
yep.
these like guys that were ahead of the curve at that time, and like Spirit Science, they had a great run at videos that were just, okay, maybe it's not all true, but it's opening up to like what we really are. Like, so once I got rid of the conspiracies and the like, okay, our government and world is fucked up, right?
Exterior shit.
We know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, we're not completely trusting of
Yeah.
our government,
Right.
and that falls down into schooling and medical and all the things that are kind of shady, right? That are becoming
The systems.
more open, the systems
Yeah.
that we're
Yeah.
in, and the matrix that we live in, right?
Sure.
So break down those walls. Okay, now I can turn inward. You
Yes,
know?
yes.
And those videos and that knowledge really helped me realize, okay, like, one, I'm not an accident. Okay, I'm not just
You're perfect.
an explosion that happened
Yeah.
and created this magic. Like I was telling you earlier, it's like if you can relate to something, it's walking into a forest, seeing an explosion, and a Ferrari drives out. Yeah, all the elements were there to make the Ferrari, but
It don't make no
it
sense.
doesn't come out of an explosion.
Yeah.
It was created, right?
Yes.
It was designed by an intelligent thing.
Yes.
Okay, so the Ferrari didn't come from nowhere. It came from the earth, but it was designed by an intelligent thing.
Yeah.
And for me to be designed and created from an explosion just didn't make sense. It didn't add up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So creator, for lack of a better word, God, for lack of a better word, became like, okay, what really is that? Like, what am I? I
Yeah.
am what, right? And I came to the realization that I am the universe experiencing itself on as many different ways as it possibly can.
Absolutely.
Without bias, right?
Yes.
So
Oh man.
You are a fractal of the only one thing.
of the thing, right?
only one thing,
and,
yeah.
and that's what everybody is.
Everything.
Is
Every molecule.
If you created for a trying to understand, if I created a toy or I created something, what would I want to do with it? I'd want to experience it.
Yes.
I'd want to play with it. I'd want to see what it can do, right?
Give it freedom.
without bias,
Yeah.
right? So the creator would do that. And all these different ways, because everyone's having their own movie, everyone's having their own experience.
Yes.
So the universe can experience itself in a million different possibilities,
Yes.
a billion, whatever. Forget the number.
Yeah.
In every
Infinite.
different way,
Infinite,
right?
yeah.
Good or bad.
Yes.
We live in the dualistic universe.
Mm-hmm.
So all the good, all the bad, it's all one thing, and it's just the
Absolutely.
universe experiencing itself
It's amazing.
It's like I often say.
at that level, right?
It's like, I kind of like there is no good or bad. And I know a lot of people have a hard time kind of grasping that. But what I say is that, like, there's really only illumination and darkness. And the darkness cannot know itself amongst darkness. And the light cannot know itself amongst light, which is why the other has the other and made everything all, in an instant.
Yeah.
Or that there was never a beginning and there never is an end.
Yeah, time is not a thing that we can conceptualize.
No.
at
It's-
this
yeah.
point, and we're not supposed to.
Time
to a
is
certain degree.
Time is a thing so we
which
can
is
like
cool.
meet up for dinner.
Right,
That's what
or
time
to
is
know
for.
when the seasons are going to change.
Yeah, yeah.
To know when to rest. To
measurement.
know when things are going to be coming and things are going to be going.
Yeah.
Right. And
But as we know, when you're in a dark, low vibrational place, time stands still. And
Well,
when you're having fun, it
it's a
flies.
man-made thing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Who said it's 12:00 now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When did
Well,
that start?
To me,
right?
like,
Yeah.
when you hear like stuff about the Bible and when people in cultures talk about God, a lot of them talk about how like it's not meant to be fathomable. You can't understand it. Like the Tower of Babel, they tried to get to God and
Yeah.
they couldn't. To me, that's always been how it is with me about time. It's just like it's not meant to be like
No.
I
It's
just feel like the
versus-
human brain can't.
It's just a way for us to understand the box that we put ourselves in.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? When there is no box.
We'll see. We've done a good job of using it and then creating a structure that we use in our 3D life. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like we know that there's like a past and things will continue to happen, like the infinite now.
Yeah.
And so, like, to make sense of that, I feel like humans like created
Yeah.
a construct of time, like, you know,
Yeah.
hours, days going by the sun and the this and the that.
Yeah.
But besides that, just like you said, it's not
There's-
something you
all
can.
there is now. All there
Yeah.
ever will be is now. The past is an illusion. The future will never come. And I just think that like we're kind of meant to be like a water bottle that has like an opening on each side, and like time just flows through us. Like there's no, it's not, it's just energy. It's another form of the same thing, and it's not real. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a tool, right?
Yeah,
You know, to help
exactly.
you do
Right.
certain
We've turned it into a
things,
tool.
but not so much to structure understanding.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So you use the tool for what it is, but you don't use the tool to define you.
That's exactly what I
Yeah.
say about the ego. The ego, like our personalities,
Yeah.
it is meant to be used as a tool.
Sure.
But we become the ego. We forget that we are, you know what I'm saying? Like we're inside of it.
You have to be careful when you use tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
that's with your ego and yourself. And the biggest thing with time is that I feel like it can really fuck you more than it can help you.
Yeah.
And that's hard to understand because a lot of us,
Confines
and
you.
I'm guilty of it too, is living in different time periods, right? So like you said, we only have now, and I would live in the past on certain instances for a certain amount of time, and it would fuck me. So basically, I was in this past that's gone, never coming back, or vice versa. I would live in the future, so I'd be dwelling on,
Yes.
fuck, like what's this tattoo gonna be? Like, how am I gonna make it? How am I gonna make this much money? How am I gonna make that? And it was fucking up the now. So
Yes.
the past would fuck up my now, the future would fuck up my now, and that was like really hindering it. And then when I got to the point of like just living in the now, which is hard to do, it's easier to say, right?
We gotta continuously
'cause we're-
practice
we're-
it.
Our minds are a motherfucker, right?
Okay, yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So to say you're just like this now, perfect in the moment type thing, dig it, but okay, like to a perspective, right? Like you can remember the past and let it go, and you can accept the future and let it be, but still live in this moment. It's cool to kind of hang out in both spaces or all three,
Yeah.
but not in one
Yes.
for more than a long
Because
period of time.
if you're living if you're
Gotta
living
get
in the
out of that.
past,
Yeah.
if you're living in the past, you're living in sadness. If you're living in the future, you're living in fear.
Yeah.
The now, the infinite now is bliss as fuck, dude.
That's a great place
You know?
to spend the majority of your being.
Yes.
Just spend it there, right?
Yeah.
Don't be ignorant and be like, I'm gonna die tomorrow, right? So I'm gonna go wild out and
Yeah.
do this crazy shit, you know. But
Right.
spend the majority of your time in that moment while not dwelling on those other two realms. Like,
Yeah.
be aware of them. That's great, right?
Yes.
Use them for what they're needed to be used for.
Mm-hmm.
Inspiration, creation, helping. Like you can use your past to help somebody.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And that's great. So
The problem-
forgetting about
yeah.
it is not the answer.
So, you know, it's interesting-
using it correctly.
Because
right?
there's so like I often talk about there's three types of reflections. One of them is when we talk about metaphorical reflections, right?
Sure.
One of them is a reflection of some part of you, like somebody shows up in your life as a reflection of some part of you. The second type of reflection is something shows up in your life that's something that you have judged. So like if you judge homeless people, they're gonna pop up all the time. If you judge really rich people and you want to be like them, they're gonna pop up all the time, right?
Sure.
And then the third type of reflection is basically a void reflection. So whatever you feel is missing or was taken from you. But it's the judgment one that I think that a lot of people forget about. And it's so when we're talking about past and future, there's something where like, you know, we need to learn from events that happen in our lives. But 100%. To judge them is to dwell on them. Where if you're just kind of just like, you know, reflection off of a lake of geese, right? So you see it and it happens and you go, okay, that happened. I learned from that. Moving on. Instead of like, why did I do that? Oh my God, I can't forgive myself. Oh my God. It's like, nah, man, you just gotta, it's just fleeting.
Yeah.
Just geese over the lake, baby.
just be the observer, you know, because
Yeah.
a lot of times you get that happening and you don't realize it till later. Like me and my wife have this all the time. We're like, damn, like when that happened, it was so crazy. But now that this is happening, we learn from that
Yeah.
not to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
if that would have never happened, I would have never been able to be like, oh, here it is again, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
chill, like we don't want to. I don't do that because of that, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like
That's a good way of using it as a tool, right?
Yes,
That's the
yes.
way to use it.
Yeah.
Not dwell on it at the moment, but like, okay, cool. Like learn from it and let it be a guide or a help into something.
Because dude, a lot of
future,
time, like the wise teacher and stuff like that, like they don't tell people a lot of times, like no, don't do that. It's a lot of it is just like, all right, well, like if you do that, like here's the things that are gonna happen.
Yep.
If you like, you're gonna go down this path if that happens, and
Yeah.
like you maybe not want to do that if you don't want this to happen. But
Yes.
it's not like you can't do
No,
like, it's
and
not
nobody
like,
can ever really give you advice in that kind of a way. It's interesting. I heard a quote from Kanye recently where he was like, "I only listen to young people." He's like, "I'm not gonna take advice from someone that's older than me." He's like, "The young people are creating. They're the ones that got all the cool ideas." And he's like, it was just kind of an interesting way of thinking about it. Touching on the reflections again, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I have spiritual friends that I often talk about this higher consciousness stuff with, and I asked my friend the other day, I was like, so everyone's a reflection of me, and I recognize that I am the only one thing, so are you, so is this microphone, so is every molecule is the only one thing, within the only one thing, and so my question was, if I'm you and you're me, do I have to live your life? Did I or will I? And his response was no, because you get to experience me as your reflection. So in other words, everybody exists. You exist, my mom and dad exist, the president exists. But the version of them that shows up in your reality is the version of them that you created to interact with as a reflection of you.
When you look at it like that, it just makes your relationships with people so much different.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I also
I need to
recognize,
remember that more.
This might be a little crazy, but guess what? In my universe, the science of my universe and how everything's put together is 100% unique to me.
Right.
You all live in your own universes.
Well,
A
we're
square in
all
my universe
living-
could be a triangle in your universe.
We're all living our own movie, right?
Yes,
And that's but going back to the universe, the creator, for lack of a better word, it was designed that way, right? So we're all living in our own movie, and sometimes you tell people like, "Oh my God, that looks like Brad Pitt," and the other person's like, "No, it doesn't. It doesn't
Yep.
look like Brad Pitt at all,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Because their Brad Pitt is different,
Yes.
than your Brad
Oh,
Pitt.
Yes, I'm so glad we
right?
talked. Yes, this is a great.
And that is a little reflection of how that works,
Yes.
right?
Well,
Yes.
I've often
And
heard
it's like
that.
that with everything.
Yes,
I was gonna say
everything.
I've often heard that every human sees colors slightly different.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I just think-
Colors, humans,
yeah.
animals.
Yeah.
this,
And again,
whatever.
if my purple, what I see as purple, you have always seen as what I see as red, but it's always been that to you, then there's no way for us to ever know the difference that we're not seeing the same thing.
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Yeah.
that's what's so beautiful about this whole thing. And I think also when talking about things like the Mandela effect, right, where people remember history differently.
Yeah.
Like, the way that the Berenstain Bears was spelled, or the way that the Fruit of the Loom logo looked, right? Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it happened because Nelson Mandela, some people remember him dying, and some people remember him being in prison, and like it's
Numerous
just right.
references.
So the reason way I believe that this works is that time, like many things, is like a tree. And a tree is like a wormhole. It's basically the same thing, right? And that we have the roots of the tree and we have the branches. We are like the middle of the tree, okay? So the now is like the middle of the tree. The past is like the roots. There's not just one past. There's an infinite amount of past timelines that have come into the now. And there's an infinite amount of future timelines that are coming from the now. So really what we are is a perfect amalgamation of all previous timelines and all future timelines in the now.
It's a tough thing to grasp your mind around,
Yeah.
because if you try to go back, right, it all comes from something, right? So if your parents weren't born,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be born. Now,
Yeah.
if their parents weren't born, their parents weren't born. So same thing with me. If my parents, and it goes back all the way, like
Forever as far as we know.
You can't get here
Yeah.
today without doing that.
Yes, the paradox.
Right? So in a lot of theories, genetic code is passed on through those type of molecules. We still
Yes.
don't understand it completely. And
Correct.
to say you do, you're lying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that is like a reflection of that is, wow, maybe all this way down from the original creation, we're getting those type of
Yes.
images, information passed down. So we're remembering
Yes.
that from something that was carried through
Yeah.
that timeline, and that goes way.
Well, and the way I look at it
because
is
you
that
couldn't be here if that never happened.
Right.
and the way I
exactly.
look at it is in a geometry kind of a way, where our roots of history are the branches of the, and it always goes back to the one.
Well, and
it
history
always
repeats itself.
Exactly.
Right?
And
So
what just a wave.
There's nothing new under the sun.
No.
You
And
know what I mean?
science does know that genetic memory is possible within like certain animals like octopus and stuff like that. They've done tests where they'll like burn the mother with like something that's like colored a certain way and it like hurts her, and then when her offspring they like know not to touch that.
Yeah.
From like so they know that octopus have genetic memory that
Yeah,
they pass on
100%.
to their offspring.
And
so
that's-
we know it's
that's
possible.
powerful. Now, and
Like-
what you're talking about is not learned memory.
No.
Inherent.
Right.
Inherent.
Now,
Yeah.
just that concept alone is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Right?
That means that we all have access
That
to
is
everyone's
mind-
past lives.
mind-
Everyone takes evolution as just such a like, oh yeah, like, you know, animals, they had to adapt over time to live in. That's fucking insane, dude. Like, so it's like we think to ourselves like, no, you can't change your body with your mind, and no, you can't pass memories on to people.
But this is how we got here.
But this is how we got here is by changing with our bodies with our minds through offspring through thousands of years.
Yeah.
To be, it's like it's
all
just,
manifestation is what
Yeah.
it comes down to, and that is the power of the mind. And even like the flat Earth thing, you know, like I'm a big believer in that. Like, you know, back in the day, we used to believe that the Earth or that the sun revolved around Earth, and then they were like, well, no, the Earth revolves around the sun. And it's always changing. And the way I believe is that the collective consciousness is actually manufacturing the manifestation of what is going on in our outer space.
And now they're saying, well, no, they're actually all spinning together around other ones that are spinning around other ones.
and it's like we're all true at every point. We at one point the sun did revolve around Earth because that's what the collective consciousness believed.
I'm into stuff like that, man. Like I'm getting more and more
as
into
you know,
consciousness.
dude, you've
and-
had dreams that have come true and wild stuff like that, dude. I mean, and we've had shared meditative experiences where we've seen spirits, and anything's on the table, man.
Well, the thing is, like, a lot of people get to the point where it's like this with the flat Earth stuff. It's like, oh, it's this flat Earth. That's a layman's term of way of putting it. It's a toroidal field, right?
Yes.
So you get down to the there's
Which is
way
what we
more.
are. We are toroidal
This
fields.
is like the skimming of the surface, right? You know
A
what I mean?
toroidal field is a
In a
wormhole. It's as above, so below. It's the same
in
thing.
a holographic
Yeah.
reality,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So it's not. You got to take it at face value,
Sure.
right? So to say, oh, this is the end of it. It's not that, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it.
That's the beautiful thing about it, is it never ends.
You got to get really. This is the putting the toe in the water before you jump in.
Yes,
right? Then
yes.
you jump in and you discover it never ends. It
Never
keeps going
ends.
and going and going. No one knows it all.
No.
We can't sit here.
That's
and
why
say,
we're here.
This is what this is, right?
Yeah.
It's this flat thing. No.
No.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
What we're saying and what a lot of people are saying is it's not a spinning ball
Yeah.
hurling through the universe that was exploded, and you're meaningless, you're pointless,
Yeah.
and you know you're a speck of dust in this infinite thing, right? That is where we're saying it's not true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We are saying that we are special, and that everybody has a purpose and has a special and was created beautifully, perfectly,
Yes,
the
perfectly.
way that you are for experiencing this experience, right?
And all the universe
That
wants you
it
to
was-
do
it was
is be you.
intelligently designed
That's it.
for you to experience the experience,
Yeah.
right? And just for you to be born is a miracle in itself.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You won
When
the
get down
lottery.
to sperm count and to the
Yeah.
inception and to the beautifuln's of birth, right? Is a miracle in itself. So this little tiny thing has all the information. If you watch a baby grow, if you have kids, you understand this, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen it. It's just mind-boggling, right? To see this happen, right? From this little thing, right? This beautiful thing, and all the information was in all the code, and that's not just human beings, right? So
No, it's
that's
everything.
the beautifulness of it, right? If you take a tree, right? Like I love trees, right?
Yeah.
And you take the seed of an acorn tree or any tree, and it's this tiny little seed, right? It looks inanimate, right?
Yeah.
You know, you hold it in your hand, you turn it around, you're like this tiny thing, right? But you put it in the ground, and you water it, and it gets sunlight, and it takes root, right? And
Yeah.
it turn all the information to, you look at an acorn tree or any tree, an oak tree, right? Thousands of leaves,
Yeah.
thousands of branches, thousands of little, and what's cool about trees is they're not all the same.
Yeah.
Right? No tree is exactly the
Nope.
same as another tree. Right?
Nope.
You look at a forest,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
A real
man.
forest.
Yeah.
None of those are exactly alike.
Nope.
Each seed had a different
Choice.
whatever,
Whatever,
right? A
right,
different
yeah.
design
Yeah.
inside of a seed. It had all that knowledge.
Yeah.
inside. Didn't need no coaching. Didn't need no didn't need no videos.
It knew exactly what it
Didn't need
was.
it did exactly what it was designed to do, created to do.
Yes.
Right? And it was all in this tiny thing to this huge thousands of branches, thousands of things, right? And that's every single thing, every single animal, every single human.
Every
right?
single
We're
cell.
all different. The fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
There's no fingerprint that's exactly the same. right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
the trees are exactly the same. Animals are exactly the same. What's crazy is it's all alive, right?
Yes.
It's all
Absolutely.
designed perfectly to integrate with each other. And even trees have been known to communicate with each other. We've talked about this.
yeah,
The ones in Africa, right,
Yeah.
that are being eaten by the giraffe will secrete a certain pheromone that the other trees pick up and close their flowers down so they don't get eaten by the giraffes.
It's amazing. It's
know,
psychic powers
It's
is what they're doing.
Unbelievable, right?
Unbelievable.
Other trees will be born and they'll start developing spines and spikes to protect themselves from getting eaten, from getting, and they all are communicating in with each other, right? They all compete to grow, and they all know what they're supposed to do, which that most people just like, oh, it's just a tree, right?
And then they
It's also
provide
perfect.
stuff for other forms of life
They
sometimes,
keep the
and then
cycle
just
going.
like
They keep without it wouldn't be what it was.
Yeah.
And that again points to intelligent design.
And I
we don't
think
know what it is, right?
No.
You can't concept, like you said. You're not supposed to.
No.
Right,
You're
that's
not.
not-
It's not a white guy with a beard in the cloud with a toga.
Yeah.
Throwing lightning bolts down. That was made metaphorically.
Yeah.
For us to kind of get, like, again, the beginning of understanding.
Well, yeah,
that
and I
we're
think-
not an accident.
I think that a lot of people, okay, as above, so below, everything must have its opposite. So if I am God and God is inside of me, then I also am not God and God must be outside of me also. So I kind of look at it like that, but I also think that it's easier for people when they're in a lower vibration to put their faith in something outside of them. However, when you realize the God power inside of you, it's very it's very liberating.
It's been perverted,
Yeah.
right, over time, and it's been used for power.
Yeah.
It's been used for control,
Yeah.
which a lot of things are, and that's the sad thing about religion is what it started as, what it was done for, has been perverted, has been infiltrated.
Well, because I think it was started so that
And
the
that's-
commoner
that's
could
sad.
have a spiritual experience. I believe that's why it started. People who were uneducated could have a spiritual experience because at the end of the day, the only thing you need to have a spiritual experience is to have your heart chakra activated. That's it. You could be totally wrong about everything you believe and you
Yeah.
could have a spiritual
It
experience.
was started for a million different reasons,
yeah.
right? And that there was no one thing
Yeah.
why it was started, right?
Sure.
Why it was done,
Right.
And it was there to use as a tool,
Yeah.
And what you do with the tool is the gift, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
what it was put there for, is for you to take the tool and use it to eventually understand the best part of yourself and experience the creator's experience the best way possible. What you do with it is up to you.
Yes,
And
that's your
unfortunately,
God right to be able
other
to do that.
people,
Yes.
And why we have wars and why we have hatred and with religions is a byproduct of that.
Sure.
And we do live in a dualistic universe, right?
Yes.
There's hot and cold, right?
Yeah.
There is light and dark. There is good and evil.
Yeah.
So it's like the native said, right? There's two wolves inside of you.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Everybody knows this one.
Yeah.
So what you feed, that wolf
Yes.
will be the one that comes out.
But you
And
can't starve. You can't starve the black
And you
wolf.
can't starve it
because
either.
it'll rebel.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people kept feeding the wrong wolf.
Yes.
And that divulged into Vatican, Rome, and
Yeah.
slavery and power, because you can manipulate other people by using that tool specifically.
Right.
Absolutely.
Religion
Yeah.
is so powerful.
It can be used as
and
black magic
it
in a way.
Fed the wrong wolf, and hopefully we can get back in whatever
Are you-
frame, we can get back to more of a less fed evil wolf, right?
Are
Never
you-
will go away.
Absolutely. Well,
But
yeah, I think it's about the
we wanna
balance.
tip the scales. That's
It's not
what
about. It's not about
spirituality
like
is
you know.
for,
It's not
right?
about feeding the black wolf so that, and when I say black, the dark wolf. It's not about feeding it so much that it gets big and it comes out. But it's like you have to illuminate it. You
Yeah,
can't. You can't deny your dark side.
It's acknowledge it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And know that that's there, but let's work towards being the positive one, right?
Yes.
That's what spirituality is really for, is to be accepting of the two,
Mm-hmm.
but let's keep it like more balanced towards the other side.
Yeah.
You know? And spirituality
There's always more room-
helps people do
I
that.
feel like there's always more room for good because good is expansion.
Well, it's
and we're
harder,
always expanding. You know,
it's harder,
Yeah.
and it's if you think that spirituality is going to be singing kumbaya and running around in clouds and floating off the mountaintop and everything's going to be great, and that's not really
Yeah.
what it's
It's
for.
not balance either. It's not- yeah,
balance,
it's not-
You know, if it was meant to be that way, it would be that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Why do animals eat animals? You
Yeah.
know, why is cold cold? Right? Because it was designed that way.
Yeah, perfectly.
And accepting that is powerful.
Yeah.
Denying it and saying no, like I'm gonna wear a coat every day so I never feel cold, right?
Yeah.
Is going against
Yeah.
the natural being of things. If saying fuck, I'm gonna kill every lion so it never eats another zebra again, is going against the natural balance of things.
Yeah.
And it all is perfectly made that we're not supposed to understand, right?
Yeah.
So if the lion eats a zebra, then it turns into fertilizer, right? Then the grass grows, right? Then
Yeah.
the bugs eat the grass. Then the bird
The
eats the bug,
circle of
right?
life.
It's the circle of life,
Yeah.
and it's designed that way. May it be violent? Yes. May it be cold? Yes. May it be dark? Yes. But it was designed that way, and accepting it, and still loving.
Yes, and
as-
realizing that it's
and
perfect even
realizing
in its lower vibrational
in
state.
That
Yeah,
thing is powerful.
Yeah,
That's when you can accept
it's beautiful.
just being.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the now.
Not being the controller, not being the creator,
Yeah,
not being the one that understands why.
yeah.
Just being like, this is what it is. right?
Yes.
It's an age-old saying.
It's a paradox,
and
but it
super
works.
cheesy,
No, no,
and
but
people are
it's-
like,
it's
but
ringing
it
true, though. It's
is
coming
what
back
it
around.
is.
Ring
Are
true.
you a believer in the the timeline split that a lot of people are on right now?
So that's the thing, right? Is
A spiritual timeline split, you know.
you know it, when I get that question, it's hard for me because believing is such a powerful word, right? Even
Well-
understanding, those words are so like, if you get caught in a certain thing, then you get typecast into a
Yeah,
certain thing,
right.
right?
I'm the
So
same way.
I truthfully like don't know,
Okay.
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that like, is it a possibility? Yeah. You know,
Like the new Earth,
is
like
it-
we're splitting
Is it a
and yeah.
possibility? 100%. Are all things possible? 100%. Do I know? Do I believe? Right? No, I really don't. You know, and
I
would
related-
like to spend more like time getting all these things. You know, and-
Acclimated,
and,
yeah.
And there are points that I'm like, yeah, that resonates with me, right? And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but there are some time with the timeline split thing that I can be like, yeah, you know, I feel like there is a high possibility that has happened.
It kind of feels like there's like all this warmongering and hate and
Yeah.
evil, and then there's just the beautiful spiritual, and it feels like
Yeah.
there is a split going on.
yeah.
I think I always come back to like we were talking about before with evolution and stuff like that. I keep thinking about when everyone's talking about shifts and all this stuff. I keep thinking about like just like a consciousness shift.
Yes.
Just simple things like when people start thinking a certain way. and
everything's
we're-
a consciousness
The
shift,
world
yeah.
is shifting with its consciousness. Just how connected we are. It's social media and all that kind of stuff. Some of it good, some of it bad.
Sure.
But I think a lot about how like yeah, man, when people's consciousness changes because we are of this earth, like the earth starts
Yeah.
to change. Like reality and everything like starts to change. Real quick, I just wanted to ask because you did DMT before. How was that for you?
It was amazing.
Yeah?
The DMT was awesome.
Mind opening?
I haven't done the grandfather, the granddaddy, the magnum opus,
I haven't either.
5-MeO.
I haven't.
I have.
I am in plans to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going
Yeah,
to.
I will too.
So I can't speak too much on that. What I've heard is it's amazing. I did do regular DMT.
Like from a pen
the plant
or-
medicine.
I did the plant, yeah, out of a vaporizer
Okay.
type thing.
Yeah.
With some blue lotus mixed in. It was amazing.
Didn't freak you out. Not
Didn't freak me
something
out
that.
at all. It was really beautiful. Being artistic, I think, it kind of amplifies
Yeah.
a little bit of more shapes and colors
Yeah.
and beautifulness. I didn't get to the beings and the whole
Right, yeah.
blast off type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But it was amazing.
That's cool.
It was a rad
Life-changing.
experience.
It's amazing.
Maybe we'll do that on the next podcast.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah?
it's great. I don't think it's. I mean, in a world where pharmaceuticals and sugar and everything else that we
Yeah.
can sit here for hours
So
about
true,
has
man.
taken over our bodies and people just digest it every day. I think that DMT is such a beautiful thing compared to those things.
Yeah.
And it's not, drug is such a hard word, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when there's no side effects, no
But
one's ever died,
It
and
was,
like
it was really beautiful. It was
Yeah.
rad, and
That's cool.
I did have like a really cool buzz.
Okay.
After.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say, those
that
are
felt
lingering-
positive.
that high vibration.
You know,
Yeah,
I've done almost everything else, and that was really positive.
Didn't
That's
feel
amazing.
wrong.
It was totally
Yeah.
positive, right?
That's so cool.
And don't abuse it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
of course.
With everything.
Too
though,
much of
course,
anything.
Right? Does drinking a nice beer or a cold Coca-Cola feel great? Sure does. Don't abuse it.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything has to be like
Yeah.
that, right? Marijuana. Is it great? Yeah, don't abuse it.
Yeah.
You know? Cigarette, don't abuse it, right? Beer,
Yeah.
don't abuse it. DMT, it's beautiful, it's great, don't abuse it.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll have a beautiful time.
Well, listen, I think that's a beautiful place to wrap it up.
Me too.
Till
Episode
next time.
9. Until next time,
Yeah.
man. Thank you so much for
We'll do
having
some
us.
more.
And whether
Yeah.
whether we got a flat Earth, a round Earth, a hexagon Earth, whether we're floating around, in the middle of nothing or something. All I know is that we basically come here through a wormhole and out the vagina.
Yeah.
You matter.
Stay positive.
Everything matters,
That's what
nothing
we
matters,
take from
y'all.
that.
Thanks for joining
Yeah.
us. Love you, Nick.
Dig it. Love you guys.
Later, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta start. You gotta start somewhere. That's the only way to do it. But there's a lot of rad monks and people that can kind of that can do that really really well, and it's pretty badass. That someone can actually really say, oh, I'm not in pain when you're in pain. It's a really acquired skill.
I love that stuff.
But